Hello, my dear friend, and welcome to the Spiritually Engineered Podcast, where we take a deep dive into the human experience from a spiritual perspective. Come on in, and I invite you to stay. So, have you heard of the saying, mind over matter? Well, I have. And I think the first instance when that was instilled in me, when that was shared with me, was I think my older brother a little while ago. And oftentimes I know when I think about that, I think about those experiences where physically I'm like, if it's like I'm working out or something, or I'm experiencing some kind of pain or some kind of challenge in the moment to kind of work through the pain, kind of a thing. Usually that's, to me, my experience has been like mind over matter, at least from what I can recall. Some other experiences include when the time I did a polar plunge, and I had to work through submerging myself in ice cold water and just tapping into my mind, like, okay, really just allow myself to just really rise above that strong discomfort, using the power of my mind to move through that, right? Mind over matter. I mean, there's so much that can be, I think it's because of the power in this. It's because, people always say like there's like this saying, a placebo effect. I guess when I look at studies of people doing all sorts of things, I can't think of any in particular, but I'm sure there's like a lot of amazing stories out there where people can have done extraordinary things. I mean, I think I can recall of one time somebody was able to lift like a very heavy vehicle for like a brief period of time to save their child. I can't remember what was the story, but it was something to that effect of like, maybe it was like a tractor trailer or something. I'm sure perhaps maybe you might have seen some examples. If you haven't, I would encourage you to just check out yourself any stories of like mind over matter, related to that, because it really is indicative of, from that spiritual level, the spiritual plane, how much power that has and how that can carry into the material. So like, take for example, right, when we're looking, so in the spirit of the current month that we're in, start, I felt it was very fitting to talk about, working with goals, your dreams, things that are ways that we have to set our own direction. I need to set my direction as much as you need to set your own direction with the goals, almost to that extent of like, because we have this life to live, and it's up to us to decide and live this kind of story we want to, that we look back on and say, I'm proud of it all, warts and all the successes and the messes, right? This is where we're all creators, because we can create the life that we want. It sounds cheesy, right? And I don't blame you, but with that and like cliches, there's a lot of truth to them, and I've experienced enough to know that, at least, to get past the judgment or like, whatever kind of a thing. But really, you are the creator of your own life. You are the narrator of your own life story, and you decide how things play out. And yes, there's a lot of variables to consider, so it's not like you have control over everything, but just more of within yourself, in your mind, your body, your actions, your words, the thoughts that come in your head. All that's in your control. So looking at goals here, like, it's important before you get started with anything that you have to, there's a saying, you have to be successful spiritually before you can be successful materially. Another way of putting it, so like, if, let's say for example, I have this vision of wanting to build a tree house. Let's say if I'm in an apartment building, if I had a house, and if I was, I had like a little backyard type of thing situation, right? A hypothetical here. And I wanted to build a tree house. I have to first, within myself, believe and know that I can do it. But oftentimes in the human experience, the very things that can prevent us from actually getting started and actually moving into action are thoughts of doubt or thoughts of worry or fear. And with fear, usually it's the fear of success. Because by being involved and having experiences and going through the stuff, there's a lot of success that's there because we can always extract from those experiences those nuggets of wisdom. Like, oh, okay, I understand this now. Okay, this is what I would have done differently. Da 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 da. Like, we truly, a lot of ways I'm always reminded is that we really have nothing to lose. Especially when it comes to like our spiritual journey here and being here in this planet, in this school to learn and grow, which is ultimately the biggest aim for all of us, why we're here, to evolve and graduate from this plane of existence. That's part of my worldview and how I show up. So I have to believe I can do it. Think about it. If you had an idea and you thought, how many times like have you had an idea where it's like, oh, I had this cool idea, it's not gonna work because XYZ. Oh, I don't have that. Or if only this could happen. Like, can you relate with that? Can you take a moment to take a step back and see what's going on there in that moment that I just shared with you? The dialogue, like that right there. When I buy into those limitations or even excuses, like, oh, I can't do it because, and trust me, it's with the fear of success being the thing. It's so easy to come up with excuses. It's like, oh, I can't because I don't. Oh, like, you want to know one of the big excuses that I can tell myself? Oh man, I don't seem to have enough time. I have to do other things. Blah, blah, blah. First of all, I know I have enough time. Second of all, it comes down to priority. What am I prioritizing? Because if it's something that I truly care about, as far as a goal, a dream of mine, then then if that's the case, if the desire is there, I will organize my time to accomplish it. Period. No questions, no going in circles. No, I will make the time. Think about a time when you actually had like a small goal, right? Maybe it was going to the store. Maybe it was going to go drop a friend off at some place or pick up a friend at an airport or do something. Maybe it was some kind of social event. Maybe it was business related, right? There's no like goals come in all shapes and sizes. But just think about a time when you just felt like you had that desire and drive. And when I think about those moments, I felt a lot of power within myself, Somewhere out there in the ethers, I have a video of me dancing on social media in my underwear. But because I had a goal to want to help uplift the community, because at the time it was like the rise of like COVID. It was a lot of stuff going on, and it was just developing, and a lot of fear and unknown was happening, and I could feel it. But there was a part of me that felt the need to like be a source of light and inspiration to others and to stay relaxed and that everything's going to be okay. And so I was inspired to do a dance video in my underwear. I mean, I had a shirt on, I had socks on. I just didn't have shorts or pants or anything like that. It was apropos. I wasn't short. It wasn't any, I didn't have like any awkward boners or anything like that. I mean, at least I have to look back on that video, but it's out in the ethers. That's another experience that I can think about. That really, for me, it's when I'm in that drive, when I can just when I have that belief in myself, when I think that having that belief, that know that I can do it, and having that desire, like I want to do this, and even more so, take it a step further, it's like I want to do this because deep down in my core, I need this for my own greater fulfillment. Like when I can be at that place, if you can be at that place, you are a powerhouse. You are a freaking powerhouse, my friend. Seriously. No one truly, but then it's like no one but me can stop me from living my best life. Really. Like to me, that's universal right there. If you want to understand universal truth, that's one. No one can stop you from living your own life, pursuing your dreams, being successful, except you and only you. No matter what happens, no matter what your situation is, you are your only obstacle. Now, that being said, that could be good news and bad news type of thing, depending on how you spin it, right? But the good news is, if that's being the case, and I believe this is the case, then this is why doing the inner work and working on those blocks, those patterns that aren't serving me, so that I can become my own best ally. Because when I start doing more of that and making myself more of an ally with myself, that's when like the magic is like happening, you know? The magic is happening. I'm doing it, you know? Like I'm doing it. I'm living, I'm doing it, I'm in it. I'm experienced, I'm involved. And that's what our soul craves, is that in genuine involvement, you know? Being involved in experiences that I know I need to on my path. And I say that because we can have a lot of experiences on this planet, but let me tell you, you don't have to experience everything. And I don't know about you, I don't want to experience everything. I only want to experience everything I need and want. Everything else, oh man, I'm just so glad I'm missing out on all that. I don't want to be a part of that. Nah, I'm good. I just want what's in my lane and my business and the people I need to be involved with. That's what I desire. Because of the simple fact that we only have X amount of time in this particular day. 24 hours. And a third of that, generally, is reserved for just us renewing ourselves spiritually, sleeping at night, renewing ourselves. And the other part, and then you've got the other a third of it, which is dedicated to work, and the other third is dedicated to your evening times, leisure, play, social. So it's like what I'm speaking to here is like, you know, in life, there's three main areas of our life, our energies that we move through day in and day out: personal, business, and social. So going back to what I mentioned, like I need to make sure, like if I'm going to set myself out to do anything, if you're going to set yourself to do out to, you know, before you start to do anything, first start with believing and knowing you can do it. That has to be the utmost importance. Because if I don't have that, I'm buying into the doubt, into excuses, and then guess what? Oh, I can't do it because I don't have the time. Oh, I feel just so tired all the time. Ugh. And then guess what? Nothing happens. And here's the thing, you know, when it comes to the things that truly matter to you, and when it comes to growing as a soul, raising your own state of awareness, there is help that's available. But at the end of the day, only you can do that. That is why all of us, in terms of, like for me in my own life, I am spiritually responsible for living my life, doing what it is what I came here to do. And we all came here to do something and work with things. If you're listening to this, you came here to work with something. It's no accident. It's all a purpose. And sure, maybe you might attribute it to God, perhaps. Maybe that gives you comfort and solace. But you still have an active part in it. It's still part of your decision. Because you are your own pilot. And so, once you have that belief and knowing you can do it, even knowing that you don't have all the facts, that's the important thing. And just trusting that, you know, when it comes to, like, let's say, for example, going back to the treehouse example, I mean, believing myself and making, like, you know, casting out all doubts and all those excuses, right? I got that checked. And then the next part, you know, actually getting into the facts. Okay, what tools do I need? What resources? What knowledge do I need to take in to be able to understand this project so I can make it happen? You know, those are all the nitty-gritty details, right? And all that stuff will take care of itself. You know, like if the belief is strong, the support will be there. And I'm talking about, you know, for starters, in terms of the support, you have yourself because you are intuitive. You are one with all things, and you can channel insights and channel wisdom from the universe, inspiration. And to add to that, you also have your team of spiritual helpers who are there right by your side, helping you out in little ways, giving those nudges here and there, sharing little ideas that may pop up. Take the time to notice what comes up, because I know for me, I take notice a lot of like the thoughts that come up. And for me, I know it becomes a game of like discerning, okay, is this you guys, or is this, and I have my own techniques that I've learned that was passed on to me to be able to recheck and get confirmation if it came from them, or if it came from anybody else. Um, so you have that all those resources available just from that intuitive sense, and just using that, working with your intellectual nature. Okay, let me organize this. What could I do here now? Because, and really just looking at it from just like a simple a mind reframe of your situation. Like, there are resources around you. Anything that's in your environment, you can use it to help you. It's just, at times, it could just it's a matter of the perspective, right? Like, I may not be rich with like $1 million right now at this time, but I know sure as hell I'm like rich with the resources around me, considering all the material stuff I've got. I mean, considering even just like the phone, the computer. But I know I can only go so far as the knowledge I have and how to better work with it, right? Otherwise it could be a situation where it's like a smartphone dumb person. I mean, trust me, I've been guilty of that. And even like with like, I have to be careful because I use a bit of AI for like brainstorming and coming up with stuff. But a lot of stuff that when I make content is all originally me. But it's just to help me kind of work with like organize the thoughts and the things that I have, the content that I bring forth, that I channel, and just do that responsibly, because I definitely see like there could be a pitfall or of just really becoming dependent upon that. And there are a lot of people that have type of thing, and that stuff is like, it's real, And again, like I'm not an AI hater, because like I use it, but I am also aware of the importance of being responsible with it and learning even for myself, how can I better work with it in a way that's constructive, in a way that it doesn't stump my creativity. It doesn't, like, I'm not giving it the work to create. I'm the creator. Remember what I mentioned earlier about like you and I, we can create because we can channel. We're just creative beings by default. It's part of who we are. We're creative by default. A creative creator. And so if I think for me, it's like making sure that I stay in that seat, and then AI just helps to like organize all that. That's it. Just help me to organize this. Okay, what can we do with this? Okay, and then I discern myself. Okay, I'll take this. I'll work with that. There's a whole lot of layers to that, but I don't want to make this episode about that in particular. But but like I said, it's just that I think part of the journey here for those who are genuinely searching spiritually, who want more out of their lives, there has to be that responsibility to self, and really doing a lot, tapping into the resources and working with everything in such a way so it's like creates a smoothness down my path, right? Like with everything, all the stuff that's out here in this material world, there's always like that moderation and balance is always key. And that's something that I always check myself. I'm not perfect in all this, mind you. But either way, I think it's nevertheless something important to strive towards and practice every single day and every moment that I have available to me. So something I want to share with you. I was debating whether or not I wanted to kind of run you through the exercise, but perhaps instead I'll talk about it, and maybe you can use it as a guide for yourself, right? One of the things that I'm working on this month is tapping into my four spiritual gifts. 4 spiritual gifts that we all share, that you have, right? To be able to accomplish projects, especially projects that'll take a while. Like I have a couple on my plate right now that I'm setting myself, I already set myself now. Like I wrote it down as my goals in my little journal, my monthly journal. But I want to explain kind of like that process of something I'm working on, and you're more than welcome to like tap into this and, use this in a way that can help you, or maybe help you identify in ways that you're tapping into your unique gifts. So before getting into it, I'm going to start with just a little bit of education here. So assuming that you haven't heard this before, and if you heard, you probably heard this if you're a recurring listener. So, but nevertheless, so we all have 4 spiritual gifts. You could say there are like our communication systems. We have our outer communication systems and our inner communication systems. Our outer being like our physical senses, like smell, touch, sight, hearing, all that, and but then our inner communication system has to do with our intuitive sense, you know. And think of it this way. I want you to distinguish a feeling between like that feeling from a material sense. Like, how do you know when you need to use the bathroom or when you're hungry? It's a feeling, right? It's a very concrete, tangible feeling that there's no denying. There's no emotion, there's no story behind it. It's just a very vital information, right? Now let's take it on a spiritual sense. Now think about for a moment when you were in a social situation or you were in some kind of situation and something felt off that you couldn't explain. And maybe something came about, something happened, right? And I'm not trying to say something tragic, but something just like, oh, snap, So it could be, for example, like before I stepped foot out of the house and right when the door was going to close and I had it locked, I had that sense like, oh, wait, I forgot my keys. Something like that kind of a thing, no big deal. Or think about a moment when something felt really good. Like there was something about it like, ooh, I need to be here. I don't know why exactly, but there's something that's there, right? That hell yes kind of a feeling to something. Maybe it was like an opportunity to go travel, do something. Or like for me at times, I've had moments where it's like, I have a feeling to go for a walk because it feels good to me. Like there's something there, I need to go for a walk. And after I've done the walk, it's like, yep, I needed that because I feel much more clear, brighter, more relaxed. I needed some of that good old fresh air, touch some grass. In this technological age of ours, the importance of touching grass. So looking at those senses, at least I want to give you that sense of understanding. There's a distinction. Like these things that I'm describing to you, the intuitive sense, is your true feelings, your intuitive sensing, your ESP, if you will, your psychic abilities. But in plain short summary, it's just communication, your inner communication system. So there's 4 of them. So you have your gift of prophecy. Your gift of prophecy is the part that senses into the future. This is like the daydreaming part of us that likes to just go out there, Perhaps you might know of people that are like, like, at least for me, I can be a space cadet at times. I know that's kind of a quality that can be for some who operate high in this gift order. And it's the part also I want to say in each of us that genuinely enjoys things. And it's the part that has the sense of inner knowings, the claircognizant. I know something, I don't know how, I just know, right? So moving on to the next one is our gift of vision. So that's the clairvoyant part, or the clear seeing, or to see in mental pictures, to get a good picture of a situation or whatever the case may be, to be able to, just to have that bigger picture. More clarity to me is more ease. There's this need for like balance, symmetry, and harmony, at least in the environments. I know that's like the visionary part within myself desires a lot. I look at those times when I'm like out of harmony, when I look at the messiness in my room because I got so much going on. I'm like, it drives me up the wall. Or I don't know if you're that type of person, but like when I look at my email inbox, I make sure I keep that sucker like cleaned out. When I've helped out with some people with their stuff on their emails, I see they have like I've seen people had up to like 15,000 unread emails, and to me, I'm like, that's so, oh my god, how can you not? To me, that would stress me the hell out. So I'm, so that's the visionary part. It's like having that harmony in the environment. It's also the part of us that's very optimistic, and that can really. It's the part of us that would prefer to conduct business in person. Like I want to see you face to face. The next gift I want to talk about is the gift of intuition, specifically the clairaudient part, or the clear hearing, or the part that when I hear the small still voice inside of me. How I relate with this particular gift, at times my guidance will communicate through music. I'll hear a particular verse, a song, it might be lyrics, or at times it just might be just a melody that repeats over and over again. And I use my discernment to decide, okay, what's that about? Why are you guys sharing that particular piece with me? Or sometimes, again, like I said, I might hear voices that are not originally my own, that I know, that tells me, okay, there's something there. The intuitive part within each of us is the natural, is the leader part of all of us. But those who operate high in this gift are natural born leaders. But we all are a leader of ourselves, and we need to be. And that's in part to this gift. And this gift right here is like things short and sweet. Like, get to the point. They don't like to beat around the bush, like, let's say someone who operates high in prophecy. um, and so, moving on to the next gift, the last one, last but not least, the gift of feeling. And again, this one is senses through feelings. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about the let me take a step back. For the gift of intuition, there's also like this, the perception through like thoughts and understanding. Just like quick, it's like that the key for that, for the intuitive gift, is like very fast in terms of receiving impressions. But anyway, moving back forward, I felt the need to share that part. And then the feeling gift. So the feeling gift is just like how things feel. It could be like some sort of intangible sensation or just a feeling, right? Think back what I mentioned before, like the feeling, like the feeling between, like, the material sense, like when I'm hungry, use the bathroom, or the ESP sense of it, of like something feels off. Okay, this feels good. Like that right there, the feeling. Just so I want to make sure you have that perfectly clear in your own understanding. So we all have these gifts, right? And one of the things I'm learning is that, when I'm working on the big project, something that I'm doing right now is working through all of my gifts. So like for me, I'm using my gift of vision to map out everything, that to kind of get a picture of what it is that this project entails. And for me, it's like a personal project. It's not necessarily, well, it is business related, but it's something I'm doing on my own time outside of my day job, right? So taking the extra time to just plan accordingly. So kind of map things out. And then I use my prophetic gift to kind of project my energy into the future. Imagining myself going through the steps. And I use my intuitive gift to lay out those simple steps that I need to take. I think for me, working with my gift of vision and intuition together really helps create more ease, and like, okay, I know I can do this. Oh, this is going to be doable. Oh, I got this. So it's like moving all these pieces around. Okay, what are the steps I need to take? Okay, let me see how this all fits while I'm like exercising this mentally, right? And then the feeling gift, how I'm using that for myself is to really tuning into that inner motivation, that drive. You could say it's like the why behind what it is that my why behind what it is that why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm utilizing my time for this thing, or these things, or these projects. And I think in working that mentally all together with all my projects, whatever the case may be, for yourself, just to kind of project that. It's good to, just to imagine yourself, at least again, something I'm practicing this month, of just like working through the motions in my mind daily, of just accomplishing the goals, even when they're not materially completed yet. But if, again, like what happens in the spiritual for me will translate how things play out in the material, inside out. And something that I'm working with is like, okay, I'm trying to do this daily, and to come back to it. And even just like, an example you could try doing, like, let's say if you're gonna go to the stores. I mean, and sometimes I do this often. I realize I do this often before I leave for the day when I travel, especially on my bike, on like where I plan to go. Like if I'm gonna go grocery shopping, I just kind of take a moment before I step foot out of my apartment. I just visualize myself going through quickly. Yeah, well, not quickly, but just like smooth, like everything working out perfectly. And just like, just having some sense of optimism here. While also being sensitive to variables that can happen, because that is also a thing as well too. not in this journey alone, right? But still, even with the variables, it's like, just okay, visualize myself going to the store, getting what I need, and then seeing myself go back home. So it's like, I'm sharing all this because it never hurts to actually send some energy to what you're doing. Again, I've been kind of explaining some ways on how I'm working with each of my gifts to do it. I want to give you ideas, so that, my invitation to you is, before you get started on any projects, big or small, it doesn't matter. for whatever I shared, any tools or anything that I share with you regarding the gifts, tap into them. Project yourself, see yourself, visualize yourself, hear like yourself accomplishing these stuff, like get a clear steps and understanding a thought. Okay, bam, bam, bam. Tuning into the feeling. Okay, what would it feel like if I've accomplished this? And imagine, imagination is a powerful tool. And I think a lot of people underestimate the power of imagination. I remember a friend of mine was like, our spiritual gifts, I'm trying to remember how he phrased it, but like our imagination is in essence our spiritual gifts working, like in real time, like they're in that play. I'm like tapping into it, our psychic abilities. Like imagination has a part, because there have been times when I thought it was imaginations, but it was actually information that was indicative of what was going on in the environment materially, where I know like this thing can't make this crap up. Can't make this up. Can't make it up. So imagination definitely has a vital piece, because it's like, as long as I'm in motion and I'm actually following through and doing it, visualizing and doing it, and then taking those action steps, because that's a huge difference that I want to understand, that separates the daydreamers and then someone. I strive to be a practical daydreamer. I'll dream, I'll think big, all those things, right? Do that for yourself. By all means, it's your right. You have the power. You're the greatest. I'm the greatest. Two things can be true at the same time. And then it's like, okay, now let's get down to the steps. What do I need to do? Guidance, what are some steps that I can do? And just staying open to the information. And just keep an open mind, relax with it. Because at the end of the day too, it's like, it's not about, like, I know for myself, and I want to share this with you, it's not about having it all figured out. Really, when it comes to working my intuition and trying to navigate, I only need to organize just enough for my next steps. When it comes to like projecting long term, what I think about like vision boards and such, and why those can be powerful tools, and it's good to actually have that, especially because it's a good way of like, telling spirit, telling God, like, okay, this is what I want to manifest in my life. If it comes from that place of clarity, true heart's desire, I mean, all may it be manifested, And so I think, vision boards have a place because it looks at it from a bigger picture perspective. Because remember, we're archetypes of our own lives here. So it's always good to just kind of, okay, but where do I see myself in a couple years, etc., etc. Even though it might feel daunting. Like I said, I've had moments when it still does, But that's why when I take it day by day and I regroup my day spiritually, I get bits of information and I start adding on to like my notes of like piecing together the clues of like, what is it that I truly want for myself? And that takes having an open mind, being curious about my day to day, but then also setting aside time daily for myself. Like 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, what have I accomplished today? What were some of my highlights? Anything I would do differently? Anything I've learned? And then I take note of that stuff. And then anything I've noticed that's like, oh, I had this insight, or I feel strongly about this XYZ. I make a note of it and I put it in like in my documents, like in my phone. And I have a place where like the crucial key information that I know I have a good feeling for, it's connected to my fulfillment. Like when I look back on those experiences where I felt fulfilled and joyful, I make note of them. Okay, this is what's going on there. This is what I want more. I want more connections, more adventures, more opportunities to share with people spiritually. Ooh, okay. And then I make sure I physically have a place where I put it so I can look back on it, because why it's important for me to write it all down somewhere, so that, because sometimes life be happening and I might pick up other people's energy. I probably would, it happens, right? You pick up people's, energies from your environment. It's, it happens. It's part of our nature. But at least when that happens, for me, I have that place I can come back to and just simply come back and remember where it is that I'm going towards. And that's such an important thing, because I know with so much going on out in the internet, all this emphasizing and people looking outside themselves when they have their answers, you have your answers within you. The crucial stuff that you need, that you're looking for, is inside of you. Don't waste all your time in the outer so much. That's to me, that happens so often. And that doesn't say like, and I'm not saying this like forget the world or whatever, because we need to be involved in life. We need to be involved in these experiences and these connections and being here present. Like, that all has a place. But just don't think that your answers lie out there. Is, if anything, my interactions with all those things in there and with my experiences bring out the answers within me. That's when I look back on my experience where I felt fulfilled at this one event or something. I did a dancing thing. I had a lot of good times with friends of mine and whatnot. Like, that is information, answers within me. I'm taking a step back, looking, okay. It's like the art of listening to myself and what I'm putting out. It's easier that for someone who's not attached to the stuff that I am, and why people are valuable to me, because they've given me good insights before. They'll share something. I'm like, oh, okay. Ooh, you might be onto something. I like, to me, I like to relate my sensitivity with like the sniff test. Like, I might, or just tap my nose as a way of like, I think about like a dog. They use their sense of smell to be able to discern. It's a very powerful thing. And that in turn will help me to see in more ways than not, that my answers truly are within. Like, another simple way of putting in perspective, if I haven't helped you to understand it yet at this point, if you want to know that you're on your path and you're living a purposeful life and you're doing the thing, you're doing what you've come to do spiritually, look at it from this perspective of how many up days and down days you have. If you have more up days than down days, then you're pretty much on track. But if you're having more down days than up days, on average, then that means that there's a need to have to adjust. And oftentimes the adjustment has to be just a little bit. It doesn't require a whole lot. It doesn't require a whole lot. I know when I'm really too much into my intellect, when I start to complicate the simple things. Like, imagine being so caught up in my intellectual nature, how to be happy. How I would look at that, well, happiness is a byproduct. When I take care of my own needs, and that takes listening to myself, journaling, taking note of what helps me come alive, and learning from those challenging experiences, all that is necessary so I can pull those answers out from within myself. That's where my guidance are a powerful tool. And this is why I spend some time each day to reflect and to regroup, because I gain new insights and I make a note of them. And if it's something really extra juicy, I'm like, ooh, whether it came from my guidance or I've just realized it from regrouping, I write it down. I make a note somewhere. So that way I come back to it when I need to. But sometimes I feel like it's not necessary to do that. And at some point, it's like not to get so too intellectual about it, because I know my guidance will remind me at times in certain situations, like, oh, it's right. They just, come on now. Like, it's just, like I said, I've done this for a long time. And I'm not, and by no stretch of the imagination, am I perfect with all this? But I do want to say, though, because I know that I can do this, I know that you can do it, and even better when it comes to working with your intuition. It's truly like working with our two natures, our intellectual and feeling nature, and to move in balance and harmony, and just trusting, being open, and just, as I'm talking about this, it's like, just bring back that inner child of yours. Let it come alive again. If it's having trouble, take some time each day to discover, like, be open to, okay, what's preventing my inner child from coming alive? What are the obstacles there? That could be a goal you could set for yourself for the month. That could be your direction, so that you can start moving forward lighter and lighter in your footsteps. It could be in your aura. And that kind of stuff rubs off onto other people, my friend. Let me tell you. It's such a beautiful thing to see that play in real time. Having that positive energy and vibe, and how that can affect people. How that's so powerfully contagious. I would say even more contagious than negativity. But hey, I might be an optimist here. But but yeah, I feel like I kind of well, let me kind of take it back now. Kind of getting near the end of this episode here. But I guess, coming back, we're talking at the beginning of the episode about mind over matter, and that it's important that to be intentional about what you entertain in your thoughts. I remember, I used to not think much about my thoughts, and I would just think about X, Y, and Z and all sorts of things. And I look back and I'm like, I probably would have spent those times, those moments very differently. And I'm at a place in my life where I know I need to be more responsible with the thoughts that come to me, because not all the thoughts that come to me belong to me. And I'm going to say that for you too. Not all thoughts that come to you belong to you, my friend. Please let this truth liberate you, because it did for me. Trust me. Because I've picked up some thoughts that were like, whoa, crazy. Like, we're talking about level of intrusive thoughts or even more extreme, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, do some research on that, and you'll know what I mean. But really, it's like coming at that place where I need to spend more of my energy on thoughts that are constructive. If it's just judgy or this, or just buy into excuse or fears, that's just a waste of my time. And for me, it's like I have to tune into my true concern and my sincerity with myself to say, okay, I'm not going to spend time with that. I've got my important thing I need to do that I care about, that's service oriented, where I can give to myself and I can give to other people simultaneously. It's fulfilling. So just really consider that. The thoughts that you allow into your head, think about that. You have the power because you are the manager of your thoughts. You are not at the mercy of it unless you just keep feeding it. Wherever your focus and attention is, you give life to. But on the other hand, too, you can also take away that life force. So let's say if you're feeding energy to a weed or something that's leaching, all it takes is just doing a little bit amount of inner work, reflecting, regrouping, healing, and then just start taking that energy where I was going to that thing that was siphoning. Now it's like, so it's like drying off the pool of negative energy that were originally before. It was just like, it was very negative. Like, you can direct that energy elsewhere, is what I'm trying to say. If it's going towards something that's like not so good, well, you have the power to say, okay, you know what? Let's put it to something more better. And I know with that, for me, I feel like it takes a lot of effort, especially because when I've been so used to accustomed, I just had a habit of putting into just negative things. And that's why it's tough. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible. And I just want to be an example to you that there is another side to that. If you're someone that's been like suffering from like patterns of negative thinking, it's not the end all be all. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be standing here and just sharing this with you if that weren't the case. So just, you're really more powerful than you may give yourself credit. And I say this because I know I fall victim. I'm guilty of it for myself. But from that place, from that mind, just like I can do it, I believe. Like, I remember, like, that was something my friend would tell me. It's like, if above all else, if nothing else, if let's say I could say all these outside forces are against me or whatever, or there might be something going on. I don't know, right? But just think of the most extreme. I think about the most extreme thing. But above all else, if I could just believe in myself, then I've got it. If you believe in yourself, you got it. And at times, it sounds pretty simple or too simple. But really, when it comes to living spiritually in balance, I'm reminded at times, I'm like, damn, it's really so simple. But how often do I complicate the ish out of it? How often do I complicate that? Because speaking for myself, very often. Ooh. But I take a step back to say, this is all part of the journey, baby. This is all part of playing the game, part of being in this school, part of working with our two natures. So I'm not saying this to say like, why? It's like, it's all there for us. It's all there for you. Perspective. So at least when it comes to that mind over matter, perspective is everything. Higher perspective. The world's in your hand in many ways. I remember somebody shared that with me, and I want to share that with you. It's true. You know, not to say that like, oh, the world rests on your shoulders, this type of thing. It's like you have the power of like a one man army or one woman army. You know, like we're that powerful. And then just imagine, like, that being said, and then if you bring other people together to coordinate, to collaborate, to work together, then that's when we can do even more beautiful, awesome things to contribute something better to humanity, to our societies, to our communities, from the whole spectrum, you know? So I guess that's one of the things I want to emphasize for today, you know, as you're moving through whatever it is that you got going on, and especially for those things you're thinking about, that your dreams, your goals, things that you've just been like, you feel like a gentle nudge, but you haven't been putting enough time to. You know, I want to tell you right now, just do it, my friend. If I were there right in front of you right now, I'd say, go for it. Believe. You got it. And it's in your best interest for the sake of fulfillment inside and the happiness that comes about as a result. You know, that right there is, yeah, I just, you know, I should say, like, I want you to be successful, and I want you to know that you can do it. And so, mind over matter. It sounds silly, it sounds cliche, but time and time again, I'm always reminded. And I hope that perhaps if you're at that place where you're kind of a skeptic, may you have experiences to help you realize that. At the end of the day, may you have experience to help you realize that power you have within yourself. The inside out. Be a positive agent of change and create those beautiful ripple effects, you know, because I know when I'm doing my thing and that lights me up, I can trust and know that will help other people and inspire them to do the same. And when that keeps going and rippling across the board, that's just like, I can hear just like a symphony or an orchestra of music out there in spirit, in the universe, at source, just like, I just kind of, you know, just like an orchestra of just teamwork, fellowship, service, joy, adventure, you know, all those beautiful things. And all of it, just for me, it's just like why life is always worth pursuing and being involved in and living, you know. Anyway, I feel like I'm kind of dragging, being around the bush at this point now. But it's been a good episode, and I just, you know, I feel there's a lot of good energy this month, and I just want to be that, you know, that person to help encourage you. You know, if you don't have anyone else, then you can use me. And for me to tell you, you got it, my friend. I believe in you. You got it. You can do it. No one stands in your way but you. And so, knowing that, I look to myself and I say, let's be allies and go forth. So this has been another episode of Spiritual Engineered Podcast. I'm your host, Alvin Cepeda, signing out. And as always, take care, my dear friend.